Teaching discipline to your children. It can feel like an impossible task because they are still immature when it comes to controlling their own behaviors. They'll act the way they want without thinking twice. Sometimes, the only solution to such misbehavior is spanking. Or is it? How many times have you wondered if spanking as a disciplinary action is actually appropriate or even effective? Sure, you've got their attention when they're being spanked, but is it only a short-term solution and not at all an effective way to discipline them in the long run? In this video, we're going to explore just how effective spanking is in teaching our children how to behave better. And you'll want to watch till the end to find out if there are better alternatives to spanking. Before we begin, here's a quick shout out to all our viewers for always supporting this channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more parenting videos like this. Some of us might have been spanked by our parents in the past. Naturally, that might make us think that spanking is the right way to discipline our children. Most parents actually prefer spanking because it gets an immediate response from their children compared to oral correction. Plus, when nothing else seems to be working at the moment, it's awesome that you can always turn to spanking as a disciplinary solution. Here comes the real question though. Is spanking really effective in teaching our children how to behave better? Well, the truth is, spanking can be effective when done correctly, but it also comes with its fair share of cons when done excessively. Let's first take a look at the pros of spanking. Studies have shown that when spanking is done in a calm, loving environment, children learn appropriate behaviors more effectively. The focus of the spanking should be helping children understand why their actions were wrong and not to vent your anger and frustration upon them. Helping them to understand their actions will have a long-lasting effect on their behavior correction. Spanking can appropriately establish respect for their parents and those who are considered their elders. A little bit of fear from spanking can teach children to behave better. The last thing every parent wants is their children throwing tantrums every other minute and making a mess around the house doing whatever they want. Since spanking is a strict disciplinary move, it helps set a standard for your children as to what kind of behavior is acceptable or not acceptable. Setting standards early on in their lives will teach them how to live by the rules and to respect boundaries. This is very important for children to understand so that they can blend well into society as adults. Another reason why spanking can be effective is the shock factor. Spanking can send a direct and clear message to children as to why their behavior and/or actions were unacceptable. The message will likely last for months or even years to come thanks to the shock you sent. Of course, not all parents agree with positive punishment through spanking. Many parents see only the negative side of spanking, and they are not wrong. There are many cons to spanking too. For example, the main reason why many authorities and governmental bodies oppose spanking as a disciplinary action is that it teaches children aggression. At their age, children might not be able to differentiate between what's discipline and what's aggression. They might come to think that being aggressive is okay when they see their parents act that way towards them by spanking them. Spanking also may affect a child's relationship with their parents negatively. It can instill fear in children and cause them to fear their parents instead of being able to approach their parents and open up to them freely. This fear is often associated with a desperation to attempt to avoid physical punishment, which might haunt them throughout their lives. Another downside of spanking would be poor performance at school and in exams. When parents spank their children, they are focusing on the problem and not the solution. This might not result in improvement, but instead, it may add further stress to their children. One unspoken effect of spanking, especially when done excessively, is the increased risk of physical health problems. And not just physical wounds, but health problems such as heart disease, cancer, and respiratory issues. It's believed to come from stress and a breakdown of the immune system. Many physical health problems are hard to spot, which can in turn lead to more serious complications unknowingly down the road. If you don't already know, spanking is actually banned in most countries. The United Nations upheld the rights of the child in 2006 and made a directive statement that condemned the spanking and physical punishment of children. 192 other countries approved the statement, while only Somalia and the United States opted out. From that moment onwards, spanking is no longer encouraged as a disciplinary action in any household. Luckily, there are better alternatives to spanking that are much more effective. Positive reinforcement is one of the best ways to teach children anything. Offering rewards or positive remarks for good behavior or good actions can make your children feel good about themselves. This good feeling subconsciously reinforces the desired behaviors and turns them into habits and routines. Or, instead of spanking your children, you can also let them experience the natural negative consequences of their actions and behaviors. When your children make poor decisions, they will learn that some behaviors or actions bring negative consequences, such as when they don't complete their homework on time. This will teach them to avoid certain bad behaviors so they don't suffer the associated consequences. You can also teach your children to take a time out to let themselves cool down. After that, you can approach them to talk about those unacceptable behaviors and their consequences. This timeout allows you to help them put emotions aside and deal with their misbehaviors logically, which is more effective over the long term than spanking. You can also take away some of their in-house privileges like screen time or playtime to discipline them. It should be clear that the loss of privileges is linked to their unacceptable behaviors. The goal of this disciplinary action is to make them reflect on their behavior and behave better to earn back their privileges. Finally, an important yet often overlooked alternative to spanking is teaching your children a new personal skill before any bad behavior even takes place. Skills like self-regulation, problem-solving, and critical thinking are super beneficial to your children. They can help them think differently about their behaviors and how to better control their emotions so they can manage themselves whenever they are about to lose control, thus preventing a situation in which spanking or other disciplinary action is even required. So, would you say that spanking has its pros and cons? Some parents say it's effective when done right and destructive in excess. And some parents prefer the disciplinary alternatives to spanking that we've listed above. What about you? Do you spank your children? And would you consider it effective? Or what other kinds of methods do you find really effective in correcting your children's misbehaviors? Do leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And please also share these tips with your parent friends and family. Perhaps they might benefit from these alternatives to spanking too.